All right. So I thought I would do this to make it a lot easier for you to conceptualize and see literally from a high level. So in red, circled around, is all of Wellington. Now you'll notice all the way here to the west of Wellington and to the south is what's known as the Loxahatchee Wildlife Preserve. So in essence, Wellington is somewhat of an island in that Wellington cannot expand. So like the island of Manhattan or Palm Beach Island, there's a defined amount of supply for the land, which is always good as it relates to an investment when there's a defined amount of supply. So to give you a little bit better context, so you can come in Wellington and you can see the north part of Wellington is all very, very dense. These are all residential communities, strictly residential communities with homes, townhomes, condo developments, and the like. Now, you'll see towards the south part, it's a lot less dense, a lot more greenery. Now, that is because this is the equestrian part, for the most part, of Wellington. Now, you'll notice these areas where they're a little bit more pink in color, and you'll see this right here marked Palm Beach International Equestrian Center. This is the horse show. This is where the Winter Equestrian Festival exists, all right here. So, to put it in perspective, like I was explaining to you guys in person, anything around here is kind of like oceanfront property in that these are the most sought after, the most desired, the highest price points. As you get further away from the horse show, the prices decrease. That's for vacant land, that's for resales, new construction, and even stall rentals. So, for example, if you're in this area right next to the horse show, these are some of the most expensive farms in all of Wellington. Now that's the reason because you can hop on your horse and ride right over the show. The closer you are to the show, the better it is, the quicker you can get there. The grooms can walk the horses over easier. If you're very close to the horse show, you actually don't even have to sometimes get stabling over here at the horse show. It saves you money actually. I'll get into some pricing here in a little bit. So there are a few subdivisions or communities, if you will, of equestrian areas. Now, if you're looking for an investment that you can run more like a business, then there's a couple areas. You can narrow it down actually rather quickly if you're looking for that, because a lot of these properties are designed and sought after more because they have a residence component. So this area is called, that I'm highlighting now, is called Saddle Trail. These lots are all very small. They're 2 acres each. You're allowed 4 horses per acre, and this is the whole area. So even in Saddle Trail, the prices will change for purchase price and rental based on where you are in relation to the horse show. So that's important to know. All of these you're required to have a house, a rather large house, and I'll get back to that as well. So that's Saddle Trail. A lot of people like that if they have needs to live on the property with their horses. Click out of there. The next development that is very sought after in the area, this is called Palm Beach Point. Some people refer to it as Palm Beach Point West because there's another subdivision I'll talk about in a second. But this is all Palm Beach Point. Every lot here is 5 acres. You're required to have, I believe a minimum is around 3,000 square feet of a house, and you are only allowed 12 stalls per 5 acre lot. So you're very limited in what you can do with regards to horses and a business and everything like that, and you're required to have a rather large house. Right here by the horse show, these are all single family homes that go for a pretty high price point because people can just ride their golf cart right over to the horse show. Now the area that I honed in on for you once we started talking and had a little bit better understanding of your needs is this area. Now this area is called Palm Beach Point East. So different than the other Palm Beach Point that I just pointed out, this area is still hacking distance away. The really cool thing about this area is you're not required to have a house. So what a lot of people have done have either not built a residence at all, or they'll build a owner's residence, manager's residence, whatever you want to call it, a nice residence above the stalls. Gets a little bit more into the nitty-gritty details, but the advantage of that is if you don't have a house that touches the dirt, then you can have a full agricultural tax exemption, which if you're running this as an investment and for the numbers to look better, then your tax liability is way less. It's a huge, huge benefit to be able to have an agricultural exemption on any property. What happens on properties with a house is they carve the house out and tax that on a normal residential rate, where this area is awesome because you can still ride to the show. It's a longer hack, but you can do it and you can advertise. You get better money for your stalls, better cash flows, and your tax liability will be less because you have no house, or you don't need to have a house, so they won't tax that on a normal millage rate. Once you get further away from the horse show in some of these other areas, you start to, so you could account like this whole where my mouse is going as areas that you would consider hacking distance. So Palm Beach Point East falls within that. Grand Prix Village falls within that. All the other areas you have to have a rather large house. It's required by the association. Now these other areas around here are farms, and they have, similar to Palm Beach Point East, areas where you don't and aren't required to have a house. But these are not hacking distance. So these you would have to load them up in a trailer and bring them over to the horse show. So the difference between a farm here and here is a big difference, because that all changes the price based on hacking distance. But once you get further away, then it's a trailer ride. So whether you're here or all the way down here, the horses had to be loaded up in a trailer, so there's not a big difference in price. The other thing to give you a little context is, so this is the main area where most of the horse showing happens, hunters and jumpers. Now, if you go up here, this is also owned by the horse show. This is called Global. They do a lot of dressage currently. They do a hunter derby here, and this is all relative here. So it's easy by trailer ride, by car, easy to get. Now, what's really interesting, a couple years ago, is the horse show acquired what's known as the International Polo Club right here. So what they're publicizing is they're going to keep high-go polo here, but this will most likely become dressage, maybe some hunters, maybe some farm development here. So the other thing, and the reason why I keep coming back to Palm Beach Point East, is you're very close to all three equestrian venues. Remember, all here is all residential. All right, this is when you start getting into the farms, just to the north of the horse show and to the sides. The rest are a trailer ride. So I just thought that would be important to do, to give you a little video to kind of give you a little bit more context as to what I'm talking about when I talk about Palm Beach Point East. The farm that has really good numbers in terms of its cash flow, there's a pro forma that I'll include if you haven't seen it already, and has a lot of potential for capital appreciation, is actually right here. So here's an aerial. It's actually 3 lots, 15 acres. So that can be subdivided into 3 ways. So if you decided that you didn't want to run a substantial operation with more and more horses, because the more land you have, the more horses you can have there and the more things you can do to drive your cash flow up. That said, down the road, if you wanted to spin one of the lots off, you very well could. If you wanted to develop it and then sell it as a spec, you could do that. If you want to do temporary tent stalls, you can do that. It really just lends itself to a lot of options. So I'll come back to that, and I'll include that in terms of the listing and more information with regards to that. But I just wanted to give you a high-level view. Thought that little video presentation would help give a little bit more context. The one last thing I think I'll tell you why I have you is right now the entrance to the horse show is, this is South Shore, this is Pearson. Right now everything's funneled here. This is a very congested area at the moment. So the proposal now is to, by the way, this is Lake Worth Road. Let me go ahead and do this for you. Lake Worth Road comes in off Turnpike, and comes in. So they're talking about making a new entrance to the horse show somewhere in here. By the way, the CEO of the horse show, Mark Bellissimo, this is his farm right here. So he actually has a similar bridle path, one of these two bridle paths. It's a straight shot up to the horse show. So if that in fact does happen, this new entrance to the horse show, this will be huge for this area in terms of their evaluation. It'll be a positive thing. So that's something that's in the works. It'll take pressure off this intersection, which is very congested with horses and traffic. And this is something that I don't know if I would go as far to say it's definite, but it's getting pretty close. The CEO of the horse show actually just paved this whole way in anticipation to be able to do that. So I hope that video was helpful. And if there's anything else I can do to help give some context, I think that was just really good to give a high level view so you have a little bit more context for the other things that I'll include in my email.